Hi, this is Audrey with the Creator's Attic. I have another good one coming at you today. I think you'll really enjoy this one. It's super easy and I love it. I love this idea. I use it all the time. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, now that I've told you how much I love it, I'm going to tell you what it is. Okay, so a lot of us really love the Victorian trading cards, advertising cards, things like that, and we love to put them in our journals. Unfortunately, they're becoming more and more expensive to obtain, and so therefore a lot of people turn to printing out digital kits. So like a lot of people will, print out their cards like this digitally. They'll buy from a shop, they'll print them out digitally, and a lot of times people print them out on cardstock and they'll ink them or whatever, but they just don't look quite authentic in your journals. And so this is an idea that I came up with in a brainstorm quite a while back. I became a master forger. Yes, and you can too, and it's super easy. So I'm going to show you how to do it. All right, first of all, I want to look at these two cards, and we're going to play a quick game. I want you to look at these two cards, and I want you to tell me which one is, just look at the two, tell me which one you think is real. Well, you can't really tell me, can you? Tell yourself, which one do you think is real, and which one do you think is a forgery? A forgery. Okay. I'm going to tell you, if you said the one on the left was real, it's a fake. This one is the original. Okay. Now, this one somebody has had some little child, I'm assuming, I hope an adult would not draw like that, but this looks like a little child got a hold of it and had a grand old time playing with it. And I guess the actual person who was using this for advertising a long while back stamped their, the name of their shop or whatever on here. So, okay, this one is a little bit more aged looking than this one, but that's not always the case. So, let's do this one more time. And you'll probably be able to figure it out this time, because which one is real or fake? Okay. This one, I'm sure you guessed by now, this one is real and this one is the fake. And that's because I've inked a little bit too much around it and my back's a little bit darker. Okay. But if you weren't to compare these side by side, you would probably not know the difference. Okay, so, and I'm sure a professional would, but anyway, this card, I can't find my original, but this card is actually, looks exactly like the original card. So, I may have gone a little heavy with the inking, but I really like that look. So, this is how you do this. If you have coffee dyed index cards, you're set. And if you have printouts of digital kits, you're set. Okay, so I'm going to show you there's a few things that can be quite tricky when it comes to these. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out one that I have already fussy cut. Okay, so I have these two, and this one I'll probably do a little bit more fussy cutting on, but a lot of people have better printers, etc. But this one is real, and this one is not real, and this has just been printed out on copy paper, because when I use my index card, it's going to become it's going to become more thicker. Okay, that was the word I was looking for. Okay, so here's the back that I will be using for mine. It's a little bit lighter, and here is this one of the real one. Okay, Now, another thing really fast that I wanted to say is that I really would like for you to watch this video through, because there are a few kinks that you will run into, and I want to be able to address those. Also, there are a few tips and tricks. I have a link to how to do this so simply, so easily. It's not a mess. Or you can buy these in my Etsy store, which is linked in the description box below the video. So I have rambled enough. Now let's get to work. Okay, if you notice, a lot of times there are imperfections in these cards. Sometimes there will be uneven sides, or there'll be a little bit more of the, they may be a little crooked, or they may be, but this is just what makes them unique. They're old, they're Victorian cards. So, but this one, fortunately, is pretty even for us, and the edges have become a little rounded or bent. This one is a square edge, but this one has become a little bit more rounded. So a lot of times I will round my corners just for a neatness effect, and sometimes I won't. So for this one, I fussy cut this one out, and I have, you can see a little bit of white here on the page where I where I missed that. You can cover this up with ink, but the main thing you want to do is try to cut these out as straight as possible. So I have tried to cut, or I've tried to get us past the pain of going on with the fussy cutting thing, so I've already cut these out. So if you will need, wet white glue will not work as well. Fabrifix will definitely not work. It will bulk up your papers way too much. The Scotch Create glue stick, it's the multi-purpose permanent glue stick. It's the best thing that you can use for this. So I'm going to show you how I don't even have to get super measury here, because I'm definitely going to need a glue mat. Okay, definitely going to need a glue mat. Okay, wet white glues will make these wrinkle. They will make these. Sometimes not only will they make these wrinkle, they can tear easily, and they just don't look smooth. They don't look real. All right, so I'm going to take my Scotch Create glue stick, and I have about this much of my card, and I'm going to use the edges because I know that this 4x6 index card is straight. Okay, I know it's straight, so I'm going to use it to help me make sure that this is straight. So I'm going to make sure that I cover all the edges of this card, index card, really, really well. And I'm not going to do my copy paper because it's kind of thin. I would not suggest doing these on cardstock paper because then it will become too thick. So anyway, I just did my area, and then I'm going to take my card, and I'm just going to carefully put the edge of the card, the corner of the card. See if I can zoom you in. Ooh, I just got glue on my phone too. Okay. You will want to make sure that you get these in, and just kind of, you have a minute to work with this glue and slide it around. The main thing is just you want to try not to get it on your fingers and then touch the print. Okay, so we have this down, and so while this one is drying, okay, so see what I have? Okay, and if it's not exact, ooh, you're close. Okay, if it's not exact, that's okay, but you can flip this one over and see it is pretty darn close, but I have done this for a while. So, okay, this might not quite be even, but we're going to straighten it out, don't worry. Okay, so what I like to do is put this under something flat while it dries. So I'm just going to stick it under the edge of my mat and try to avoid where the glue is, and that way while it's drying it will straighten out itself and it will not warp. That's another thing about the wet white glue, it will make it warp. So all right, so next I'm going to show you one that we may have a little bit of trouble with. Let me see which one I want to do. These, like this one is not real, but these are really easy to do because they're perfectly, they don't really have the edges in there, so they're easy to perfectly do. Okay, so this next one is going to be a little bit trickier, and I had the original over here. Oh, we're gonna play that game again. Okay, hold on just a second. Let me go look. Here we go. All right. I actually pulled out some of these I've already fussy got, and I forgot that I had, I was getting them mixed up, actually, the ones that were printed and the ones that were real, because these are a little bit more delicate. Now, this is, we all love our J&P Coats thread. We love to use these in sewing journals. So, I have these in my store, not the original ones unless it says, but I have it and it'll say print in my store. So this one is where we've run into a little bit of an issue, because this one has, you know, the corners are really have been bent, and to buy these in pristine shape is very hard to do. So you will have some imperfections on here. So also you will have the rounded edges, and sometimes I try to work these imperfections out of the actual card. So we're going to show you how I do that real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. So I'm going to find another card. Here's another index card. Let's see. I'm trying to find one with a little bit lighter background. That one is pretty close. And you don't have to match it very close because they're all different colorings when you find them, because they're all different ages. So I'm going to do this one the same way. I'm going to stick it on my glue mat, and I'm going to use this side because I want my pretty side on the back. And I'm going to show you a little bit more of where we can run into some snags and how we can fix them. So this is great for anyone, advanced or beginner. But the great thing about this is beginners can do this. You know, it just pretty much anybody can do this. It's really simple. You will need your distress inks. I prefer to use a little bit. I don't use the tea dye or the we'll just talk about ink colors when I get there. Okay, so anyway, I've got this down, and I'm just kind of making sure. The very important part is that you have all of your sides down. And I did let this one hang over just a little bit because part of my white of my card is still showing down here. Actually, I can take care of that. I don't have to be overly picky, but I thought I'd let that hang over a little bit, but I didn't. That's okay. And the great thing about these, if they're not perfectly straight on here, they're not perfectly straight usually when the printed ones, so it's not a big deal. I don't have to worry about that. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this one and show you how to fix some things. And then I'm going to go on and come back. This one is kind of dry, so I'm going to put this one, the troubled one, and just go back to the simple one now that it's dried, or it's dried enough. Now, I have a pair of scissors that I keep. I have several pairs of scissors, and these I call my gum. You may have heard me refer to these as my gummy scissors, or my gluey scissors, or whatever. These I keep, and I do wipe them off with a baby wipe and then dry them. But these are. I have to get something to drink. Hang on. Let me have a sip of soda. Okay, so, sorry about that, but I'm thirsty. Okay, so I'm going to go around, and I would say I would use my gummy scissors as well, but you just go around very carefully, and you can kind of tell when if you are on the card or if you are off of the card. So this one, you can tell a thickness if you get over onto the card, so that will kind of let you know and help you, guide you. If it's too thick, then you're probably cutting on your card. And if you don't cut these exactly straight, you can always you know, go back and cut the frames, you know, the sides or the little framed in parts down just a tish. Okay, so this one is what I have, and I have a little bit of the white part going over, but that's okay because we're gonna fix it. Okay, so this is my card, and see, you can see a little bit of the white part, but we're gonna fix it. Here is the back. So let's take a peek at the original one again quickly, and the forgery. Okay, so this one is a little bit printed a little bit darker. You can fix that on your printer by just making it brighten up or lighten up just a little bit. But I just printed these out for the card. Okay, look at that match. It is almost exactly like the back, except this has some nice stuff on this. We can also fix that. So I'm going to take an ink color and a brown ink, because I want to age this up just a little bit and get rid of any of this white that may be showing here. And you may know, if you watch my channel, that Gather Twigs is what I go to usually, but for this one I think I'm going to lighten it up with Vintage Photo. I don't use brushed corduroy because it has a little bit too much of a yellow tint, and and rusty hinge and tea-dyed. All of these, you can use these if you have them, but I would use Vintage Photo, and that seems to be the go-to for a lot of people anyway, but just because the coloring is a little bit less authentic to me. So I have been using Gather Twigs around these, but this time I'm going to pull out my Vintage Photo. I have a big Vintage Photo that may be a little bit more, that my little one may be dried out. Okay, so here's my Vintage Photo Distress ink, and I'm just going to turn my dauber this way, almost even, like almost even with the card, but not quite, just turn slightly. And I'm just going to go along, so I'm just going to go over that white part. Okay, we can't see it anymore. Go around. I'll go around this quickly. Go around, and there we go. Now, the back needs a little bit more age, okay, because things turn. So I'm just gonna, sometimes if you use the edge of the coffee dyed index cards, it will already have the, it'll already have this aged look on it, so you don't have to go over it unless you just want to kind of blend in the colors if there's a big mix. Okay, that fast, we have, ta-da, a forgery. And they feel pretty much the same, okay? All right, so back to our little troubled card. I don't like this imperfection. And this card already has rounded looking corners anyway, the original one does, because see the rounded corner look? Okay, so I'm going to fix that. I left it when I printed out as square corners because that's going to help me fix it. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to and I'm going to go around. And see, I don't leave any paper on this. I've gotten pretty good at being close. Usually the darker lines around these two, that natural age lines, will help you see that, will also help guide you like a line. So bless you guys who can cut straight. I mean, it is something that I'm still trying to learn to do. After doing this for a couple of years, I'm still trying to get, I'm going to take this off just a tish. I'm still trying to cut straight. Okay, all right, so here we go. We have, obviously, you can see the corners here where they are still white, and obviously they're naturally rounded when this printed out. So what I'm going to do is, you want to preferably make this really, look at that back. Okay, I don't have this stamp to do this, but you know, you may be able to find some stamps like that, but I'm going to show you some that I have. Okay, so I'm going to get my corner rounder. And you want to make sure that this is dry because it will ruin your, I've done this, ruined my corner punch because I have accidentally gotten glue all in one, and I ruined one of mine. So let's see. Okay, if you want this look with the bent corner, like this one has, that's fine, but I want to round the corners. So I'm going to take my 7mm and I'm just going to round the corners. Okay. And I always turn mine up like this so I can see my corners going in and make sure, because if you don't watch that all the time, it can get away from you. And your corners will cut all wonky, as I like to say. Okay, so I have my rounded edges. Okay, if I wanted to get rid of this imperfection, I could go in with my 10mm and completely cut that off. Okay, but it won't look as authentic as this one. Okay, so this one does look a little more perfecty, but that's okay. I'm going to take my vintage photo and I'm going to get rid of some of that white that I have showing. And I say the white, I mean sometimes from fussy cutting, sometimes I would rather leave a little bit of the white than have it showing. If you have any bit of your index card showing, you may want to cut that off as well, or sometimes if you come along here with your nail, you can kind of push it in like this, because there's a little bit showing here. Kind of push it in, and you don't have to cut it. So just come back up and make that. Okay, so now I'm going to do my back, and I'm going to try not to do too much inking if I want to keep it close to the original. Now, as you can see on some of the other ones, I inked in a little bit more, and I just liked that look. So this way, even if you have your own journal cards, you don't have to sacrifice them in a journal that you're going to give away or whatever. You can preserve your originals and use them over and over again by copying these, because these are not copyrighted anymore. Okay, so I have this one. I have this one and this one. And where's my other one? Okay, and I have this one. So here are my originals and my regulars. So one of these is fake and one of these is not. You saw me do it, so you probably know. And then these are back to the other ones that I showed you at the beginning. So if you don't, sometimes we'll have stamps like this. This is an old vintage looking stamp. If you have something that you want to stamp, you can always go, that's the forgery. I thought that was the forgery. Okay. You can go and you can stamp on the back, and you'll have your own, you can have your own vintage looking label on the back. So, or you can just leave them blank, because this is what I wanted to show you quickly before I go. This is a real card. This little girl, she's so cute. And this is the back. This is the original back. And it doesn't have anything on it. So, it's not uncommon for them not to have anything on it, because a lot of times people stamped their, a lot of people have the same card and then they stamp their own information on them. So that was popular to do back in the day as well. Sometimes people will stamp on the actual front of the card on the image, and I've run across that quite a few times. So if you have a stamp like that, you can add them to your backs. Okay, so here is all that I wanted to show you today. Quick, easy, simple. And if you liked this video, please hit like so I know what kind of videos to put out in the future. If you're not subscribed, I would love for you to subscribe because I have tons of ideas that I want to bring and share with you. Also, please visit my Etsy store. I do have these in my Etsy store. If you don't want to do them yourself, I also have just the blank index cards for sale that are already coffee dyed for you if you don't want to go through that process, or watch the video. And please subscribe, and please check out my Etsy store. I have all kinds of interesting and neat things in there, from stuff like this that I've made, and I also have stuff like this that is real, and I have real authentic ephemera kits that include real antique and vintage items. I have a lot of new stuff to put in there, so check it out. I hope that you have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.